Hey guys, Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. The title of this video is the BHSpringSolutions Happy High Power Ending Story. And this was actually prompted by another story from a customer of ours that really concerned us. And the story went like this, that he had acquired a high power pistol, and he had purchased some of our products, and he had taken his high power and his products he had purchased from BHSpringSolutions.com to 3 different gunsmiths who all failed to get compatibility with some of the products that he had purchased. And it ended up that he sold his high power and the components he had purchased from us, and we were very disappointed by this story, because neither the gunsmiths nor he had ever really reached out to us and explained, what issues they were having. And so that prompted us to tell that story and really re-emphasize that BH Spring Solutions #1 goal is 100% customer satisfaction with all of the products, components, services that you acquire from us. And if there's a point where things are not coming together as you expected, we want you to reach out to us. We want you to call our toll-free hotline number. We want you to email us, and we want to help you bring whatever it is into compatibility with your firearm. Bearing in mind that the co-founders of BH Spring Solutions are users of all of the components that we have at BHSpringSolutions.com. So we can help you. We want to help you if you have any challenges at all whatsoever. And this story is about something that happened this past week, and this is February of 2020 as we're making this video. A friend of ours, a BH veteran, many times past customer of ours, who lives local to the BH Spring Solutions office here in Indiana. He's about 30 minutes away, and he's purchased a lot of things from us. And one of the things that he purchased from us was the Fast Safety, or SFS system. And what that is the system most of you guys probably know. It's a system that when you push the hammer forward, it causes the safeties to cam up, and then when you de-safety, your hammer is cocked and ready to fire. We have that system for high powers and 1911s, and commonly called the Safety Fast Shooting System, or SFS. Anyway, he purchased that system from us, and then he contacted us because he had read the article that we had written about the customer who had his high power and our components to 3 different gunsmiths. And so he reached out to us and he said, man, I've spent the better part of 2 days trying to put the SFS system in my high power, and I have failed. He said, I put it in and I pushed the hammer forward like this. The safeties don't cam up. And my first thought was that we got a bad component in this picture somewhere, obviously. A couple days later, we got a chance to take a look at what he was working with, and he essentially had a frame like this and the SFS installed, and when I pushed the hammer forward, the safety did not cam up or move upwards whatsoever. And I tried to actually encourage it to go upwards, and it still didn't, and didn't want to. And then he gave me another clue. Now, to keep it in context here, this was a later generation cast frame Browning high power 9mm. The same generation as the frame I'm holding in my hand. This is a polished blued. His was one of the matte black or baked on epoxy paint finish. But it was the same frame. And another clue that he gave me was when he said that when he had attempted to install the sear spring. The sear spring is this flat metal spring here that with the SFS version just comes in and out as easy as you saw it just come out. He said that when he put that in and installed it and pressed it downward, and you hear that click, that's where it locks in. He couldn't get it to do that, and So that was another curious thing, because we've actually seen that on some FEG high power clones. We've seen it on some Tissos, the Turkish clones. Never saw that in an FN or a Browning frame, where the sear spring would not install downward far enough, like you just heard, in order to install. So anyway, this frame that we were working with, it didn't have the serial number here. It had the serial number here, but the serial number was kind of, you know, you can see how that's either etched or painted, or however they've made that stand out. It was similar here on the frame part. No reason to think that this firearm had ever been refinished, frankly, because of the prominence of the serial number. It looked so factory. Anyway, we got to looking at this pistol, and I looked at this opening in the frame, and then I took this one I'm holding apart, and we held them up side by side, and this opening just didn't look like the same opening between the two pistols. And then I took the left side cocking lever of the SFS, and I inserted it like this, and I could not do that movement when I installed it in that frame. And finally I pushed this up hard enough, and it kind of snapped up, and with a lot of pressure I pushed it back down, and it snapped down. As we looked and looked at this handgun, and I want to tell you, after hundreds and hundreds of high powers through our service center, and many, many, many more handguns that have crossed our path in the way of high powers and clones and all of them, never have we seen this in an FN or a Browning high power. But what we found out was that this paint job and the matte black that they had is the best as we've been able to determine is some kind of a baked on epoxy based paint finish, and it's a great finish, frankly. But for whatever reason, in this particular handgun, maybe it happened to all of them that were in the room that day when they were finishing them, the accumulation of that paint in this area right here, and what it did to the relationship with this collar right here on the cocking lever, it was just too much. We got to looking closer, even down here in this well area at the bottom of the frame, right there where that sear spring lives, and there seemed to be a lot of accumulation of paint down in that area where you heard it just snap into this frame. Wouldn't do it. So with a little grinder wheel on a Dremel tool, we took off, you know, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 thousandths off of the end of the sear spring here, and it snapped right on in. And then on the safety lever, we, with the same grinder wheel on a Dremel tool, we took off maybe 1,000th or 2 thousandths or something right off of this edge of that collar that needs to seat into the frame like we just did, and it began to move completely freely. And then we put everything back together. The SFS, everything functioned fine. The sear spring installed after we took 2 or 3 thousandths off of that. Our point is this is modern manufacturing. Modern manufacturing has its nuances, and even FN in Belgium had their days where these kinds of little compatibility issues, and I have to tell you, that I think was the very first ever FN or Browning high power where SFS did not drop in seamlessly with no fitting, no nothing that we've ever seen, and it should be. This was a nuance in the production cycle somewhere, and it happens, you know, everybody has their days. We share this with you because these kinds of nuances are infinite in terms of possibilities. And in any event, when you purchase from BHSpringSolutions.com, we want you to be 100% satisfied. If something doesn't go just like you've seen it in our tutorial videos, if you're a gunsmith, if you're an armorer, and you're running into something that just doesn't seem right, and it's forcing you to do something that you feel like you shouldn't have to do, please get a hold of us. Reach out to us. We want to help you bring in whatever it is that you're working on. Thank you very much for listening to this message. I'm Mark, BHSpringSolutions LLC, and BHSpringSolutions.com.